Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Carol Massar along with Tim Stenovec live here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. Now, you might recall a story from the Bloomberg news team earlier this month. It was about Apollo Global Management being poised to launch a $5 billion strategy to invest in sports deals, marking another major asset manager targeting the booming sector. It's about long-term lending of strategic capital to sports leagues and clubs. They've also considered owning stakes in teams, though this wouldn't be a priority and may hire new staff. And our next guest, Tim, definitely knows about investing in sports for his investors.
Jeff Luhnow, CEO of Blue Crow Sports Group, also former Houston Astros president of baseball operations, along with Bloomberg News Texas bureau chief Julie Fine. They both join us from our Dallas bureau for Bloomberg News. Jeff, really good to have you with us. Julie, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Jeff, multi-club ownership platform, a sports investment platform backed by private equity investors, high net worth individuals, family offices. The company began back in 2021. Numbers are not public, but financially, give us an idea of where this company is, what your focus is, and how you compete against the big folks such as Apollo.
Well, you rightly pointed out there's a lot of interest in sports. A lot of American investors are investing in European football, et cetera. We started as a startup 4 years ago. We wanted to pick our niche. Our niche is to find, own, and operate clubs in desirable locations that have big growth opportunities. So we invested in Cancun FC in Mexico, Club Deportivo Leganés in the suburbs of Madrid, and Le Havre in the Normandy area of France. And those are the three teams, one in first division and two in second division. And the key for us is to operate those clubs well and allow them to make money and to win games.
Jeff, you talk about the key is to operate them well and to win money in games, but really what's the long-term plan? Are you looking at other sports? Do you want to stay in the soccer world? What's next?
Well, we've got a lot of work to do in football. We want Leganés to get back to first division. We want Le Havre to establish itself in second division. And now that promotion and relegation is coming back to Mexico, we'd like Cancun FC to get into Liga MX. So I think our to-do list for the next 5 years is pretty busy and pretty filled. But I think over time, we will certainly look at other sports, but right now our focus is football.
I want to talk a little bit. You were with the Houston Astros. You were fired after a baseball scandal. You have denied any wrongdoing, but you are going now and asking people for money. Has there been any issue when it comes to trust?
No, not at all. In fact, many of the investors in Blue Crow are people that were either investors in the Astros or knew me from that time. If anything, it's been an advantage because people knew of what happened with the Astros after we got involved in getting the World Series in 2017 and reaching it in 2019 and, making money for the club and its investors. So we have a very diverse group of investors, people from private equity, entrepreneurs, technologists, et cetera, and they're all very bullish on what we're building.
Does it ever come up, though? I am curious, Jeff. I know we all have our pasts and histories. And I just think, sometimes when it comes to money, people do at least be like, well, let me talk to you a little bit about this before maybe I think about investing.
Well, I think a lot of people want to know about my time in baseball and what we did and how it relates to football. It's never come up as a negative. I was telling Julie earlier that in Europe, baseball is not a very big sport, so people don't even know who the Astros are or who Jose Altuve is. So they really just care about whether we're going to win on Sunday and whether we're going to get 3 points or one.
Hey, one thing I want to ask you too, though, Jeff, when it comes to owning a team, is it a buy and hold strategy, or because you have investors, is it buy, hold, build up, and then sell for a premium so that there are returns to your investors? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. And the way to make money in football, as you noticed, is you can either hold and sell for more than you bought, but you usually have to cover losses in the meantime. But we're trying to run these clubs to win and grow revenue and eventually be profitable so that we can potentially return some money to our investors as we go along. We're not looking to buy and flip. A lot of the things that we do in our clubs require 3 or 4 years, 5 years for them to start working. And that's why for us, we're talking about more long-term holds.
Talking about long-term and working, we talked earlier about technology and analytics. What role is AI playing in all of that?
Well, the world of football has lagged baseball and basketball and other major sports in terms of the use of analytics and technology. But that's changing. And part of the reason it's changing is in football, you have 11v11. So there's a ton of data and there's a ton of games all over the world, and it's hard to analyze that with just a few data scientists. So AI allows you to analyze a much, much larger volume of data and to generate insights from it. So I think it's going to be increasingly important in our world.
Jeff, we talk a lot here in the U.S. about ballooning sports team valuations. I mean, you're certainly familiar with this. We just had, the deal news about the New York Giants, for example, with American football. And I'm curious if you think the growth here in the U.S. will start to slow down and the real opportunity for valuations to grow as they did here in the U.S. in the last 2 decades. That opportunity is outside of the U.S. now.
I think that, well, first of all, I've always been skeptical about valuations of major U.S. sports, but I've always been wrong. I've been saying that things are overvalued for the last 30 years, and they keep selling for more and more down the road. So I'm not good at predicting that. I do think that buyer beware on European football because there is relegation and promotion, and you have to do things well in order to increase value. And there's a lot of investors that are losing money in this sector as well. So we're hoping to be one of the winners. But we're being very cautious about what we invest in and how we do it.
What makes you skeptical about U.S. team valuations? It's a supply and demand question, right? Is it more complicated than that?
Well, I think that generally the revenue is driven from TV contracts for most of the sports, and I just can't see those continuing to grow at the rate that they've grown. But I know it's happened. So, like I said, I'm not a good predictor of that. But I think ultimately everybody's going to want to consume sports on their mobile or on their their handheld, and that changes the dynamic a little bit. And some of these bigger contracts, may not get renewed at the increases that have happened in the past.
This is going to be a very big time for football coming up with the World Cup. We have here in Dallas, we have the most matches. Houston, your hometown, has a lot of matches as well. What do you think this attention on the sport in the United States will do for it overall?
I think it's going to be great for all of North America, Mexico, United States, and Canada. I'm very bullish on North American football. I have been since the beginning when we invested in Cancun. And, I lived through the '94 World Cup, and everybody was expecting football to suddenly become one of the big 4 sports. I think it has grown, but I think it's poised to continue to grow. It's never going to beat NFL. It's never going to beat MLB or NBA, but I think it can continue to grow its fan base, and I think it can continue to produce good results.
You are now in soccer. You came from baseball. I want to know what your future is.
Well, like I said, we're just at the beginning. We've been doing this for 4 years. We've got a lot on our to-do list. I'm going to be focused on building Blue Crow for the foreseeable future.
Is there an investor that you would love to have with you for the ride? Is there a team that you would love to go after? And I know who's going to talk, right? Because you don't want to kick up the valuation. But I am just curious, and anything you can share on your investors or who else you'd like to have with you.
Well, we have a great cap table. We've got some people that have in the NBA and the NFL and MLB, et cetera. I don't like to disclose who they are because that's their business. But we're well funded. All of our investors have offered to put more money in if they need to. So really at this point, I think we have an all-star cap table. We've got a great plan, and now it's just a matter of going out and continue to execute.
Jeff, 20 seconds, women's sports, how does that play into it? It's kind of popular. I don't know if you've heard that really quickly.
It is, and there's a lot of money going into women's sports. We have a female team in Spain. We're looking at the sector very closely and trying to figure out what our strategy is, but it's growing in the U.S. a lot, and it's growing in Europe quite a lot, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
All right. Well, you're always welcome to come back and share some more. Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff Luhnow, CEO of Blue Crow Sports Group, along with our Bloomberg News Texas Bureau Chief, Julie Fine.